Did you ever go to therapy?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been in therapy in and out of my whole life. I mean, I was in therapy as a child, and definitely think that therapy is useful, a very useful tool. If you meet the right therapist, I met a lady named Jane that I've worked with on and off over the last several years, and she has changed my life. You know, and if you meet the right person that you can trust and you listen and sort of absorb what they're telling you, it can be incredibly helpful. So,
but as a child, though, that's different.
Yeah, I think it was different. As a child, it was hard to open up and understand why you were there or what was going on or what was the reason for being there. But man, I was a troubled kid. I got kicked out of a Christian school, or was going to get kicked out of a Christian school. I got sent to military school for a year and a half, and I didn't really have much direction, till I got the opportunity to drive race cars, and was really probably more of a disappointment, I think, than anything up until probably around 1996, 97 when I started driving an Xfinity Series for a couple races for Dad, and started showing, hey, there's some purpose for me here, and here's some direction for me. But as a child, I was, having divorced parents, and then the fire. We were living with my mom in a mill house near Concord Mills, Annapolis, that caught fire when I was 5, 6 years old. So I'm standing outside in the yard in the morning watching our house burn down. My mom is broke and she has nowhere to turn, so she had to move back to Norfolk, Virginia to live with her mother because that's the only place she could go. And she made the very difficult choice to give up custody of me and my sister at that moment to my dad because she knew that he could provide for us and give us this better life. And so I was at my mom's watching her house burn down in the morning, and then that evening I was at my dad's house rummaging through my toy box in the garage, seeing if all my toys had made the trip. And that's difficult. So yeah, probably needed some therapy through all that.
What'd your dad think of all this?
Of the
like growing up
in custody of the kids?
No. Being like you were angry or revolting against something.
Oh,
yeah.
I was just wanting his attention. I was just doing anything. I didn't know it because I didn't really want his attention in a negative way. I didn't want whoopings and all that stuff. But I think my sister says that I was always kind of acting out and trying to get his attention. Kelly would do things like get good grades, what you're supposed to do to try to get his attention, and I was doing whatever I could to. I mean, I felt like the only way I could get him to talk to me or notice me was if I did something wrong or rebelled and fought back or whatever, made things difficult. I don't think I did those things on purpose, but my sister swears I did. But he wasn't around. It wasn't like we were, interacting all the time. He would come home he would work in his shop all day long, and then he would drive home and get to the house around 9, 10 o'clock. It's time for us to go to bed, and we're dying for just 5 minutes of his time. We just want just 5 minutes just to see him and say hey. And he would come in and sit in his lazy boy in the living room, and you would sit on the couch and ask him questions, and he would not even answer your questions. I mean, he was so tired and wore down and so much on his mind about his racing career. This is back in the mid-'80s when he was sort of kind of struggling to find his, right the ship, so to speak. And it was a difficult time. But I think that he was really frustrated, I think, for a long time with me and who I was going to become and what kind of kid or what kind of person I was going to grow up to be. And as soon as, it really clicked when we got in the race car and started, he said, hey, I don't know if he thought I could drive a race car or not, because he never saw me race in the late model series from 92 to 96. He never saw a race. I ran 159 late model races. I don't think he saw one of them. He was just going off of people's opinions that of whether I had any talent or not. But once I got an Xfinity car, we went to Michigan and ran in the top 10 and right there in front of him. And it was, he said, hey, this is all right. So we started talking about the future.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.